Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, Tyler. How are you?
I'm all right, Andrew. My name is Tyler Christophersen. I'm here with Andrew Saunders, and we're going to do a brief interview of our VDLs over the past few months and the intensity of all the work that we kind of put in. So we'll start with you, if that's all right.
Let's go for it.
All right. So you kind of tackled the issue of ethos, right? So what kind of led you in that direction?
Yeah, going through this program for the past 2.5 years, and I have a little bit of a background in philosophy. I've kind of been looking for a career and a practice that is really consistent in its ethics and how we apply it. And that's really what I ended up with biomimicry. So I wanted to explore that a little bit further and try and find how I might give back for all that biomimicry has given me. So with that focus and the work that Thomas Baumeister's done in the Ethos course, which I got a chance to TA, that really led me kind of in the direction of the ethics.
Okay. Cool, nice. It's definitely up your alley, that's for sure. So, how did you tackle it? What was your approach to this?
Yeah, the process was messy. Mm-hmm. It was very interesting.
All this is.
Yeah, I wish I had a more clear direction when I started. I really took this idea of evolution. I didn't really start with a end goal in mind. I just wanted to explore and see where everything led me. And so I really started by looking at how ethos is presented, how Thomas Baumeister teaches it in the Ethos course, and trying to understand if I really agreed with that, and if I felt that it was the ethos that biomimicry presents and the ethos that biomimicry needs. So I started with that, and that took a long time. I mean, that's an ongoing process. Yeah. It's difficult for sure, but I think I ended up really internalizing it, and I really agree with a lot of what Thomas presents and really how ethos is presented in biomimicry. And from there, assuming I have that kind of correct in my mind, I tried to look at what might be some opportunities for me to, again, just give back to the practice and help cultivate that ethos as I leave academia, and really hold on to it and make sure we don't lose that in that transition. So again, also a kind of a messy process and a difficult one to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely understand the messy process of it, absolutely. So what conclusions, outcomes, how did it go? Is there any answers that you found?
Yeah, I have a pretty lengthy, I guess, paper. It's a repository of my key takeaways from the program, and from Thomas's Ethos course, and the reflection that I did on it. What did I end up with? I'm really impressed. I'm kind of amazed at all the thinking and intentionality that went into biomimicry as a discipline, and just connecting everything. And I just, after this whole reflection, I have a lot more confidence in it. Specifically, I have a couple opportunities that I think I'd like to explore some more. I'd like to explore that ethos element further and kind of build on what Thomas has really taught me and the work he's done. But also just think about this ethic and motivation for it in terms of belonging and unity with nature as opposed to this otherness. I think that has a little bit of motivational strength. So that's something I'm thinking about. Aaron Ravallo put together the Eyesight's book that's really related to connection and the reconnect element. So I've been thinking about I belong kind of in her.
I'd like to see it
in her model. So we'll see where that goes. And then I'm thinking about the idea of bioassistance and utilization. Obviously, those are different than biomimicry. That's very clear through the program. But there's an element of connection there. Obviously, there's maladapted and well-adapted uses of those.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to explore that that connection and the ethics involved in how those interact with biomimicry. So thinking about that further as well. And then I have some other opportunities. I didn't get super deep into to those. I think I developed or found a few that you also might have been your reason for what you explored in your VDL. So I was excited to hear more about your process and I guess why you chose to work on your project.
Well, it was kind of funny you mentioned that. We didn't really talk about this earlier, but this actually kind of started with Thomas as well. And it was a book seminar. We talked about biomimicry versus bioutilization, reciprocity, emulation. How are we doing it? Are we doing it to the full capacity of biomimicry? In certain initiatives, maybe not, but at least it's a step in the right direction. And so the process kind of starts there. And so that kind of got the brain ticking. And I started thinking about mutualisms, and at the end of the day, coming from a business background, I wanted something a little bit more practical, right? Because we go through this course, there's so much to talk about, literature wise, and I mean even philosophically wise, and the ethos and the human nature course. But for me, I wanted something a little bit more tangible, something to kind of reach. And so with this VDL, I kind of went in a direction of thinking about businesses and businesses that have made claims to do green initiatives. Were they following through with this? How are they doing this? Obviously, biomimicry is a relatively new discipline. But it doesn't mean that the heart isn't there in what they're trying to do. And so that's where I kind of started thinking about local businesses who are trying to go green or to do something life friendly or sustainable. And that kind of spiraled me into greenwashing, thinking about all these PR statements and different examples where it's hey, we're going to plant 1 million trees, but we're also not going to address the fact that X, Y, and Z. Our company has shell companies, or we invest in oil companies, or all these other things that so many other authors have already touched on and stuff like that. But I want to focus on a more narrow, local version of it, and really kind of give green industry initiatives the leg up. And so that's why I kind of started with this whole GII consulting, startup type thing. Because ultimately I'd like to do a consulting gig in the future, right? Establish something to do better as nature does. So that's kind of the why. I saw there's a little bit of gap there, and I kind of want to say, what, we could do better, and I think that biomimicry could probably help with that.
Yeah. I think it's a good reason. So when you as you got into all this stuff, what was your process? What was your approach to exploring all these different ideas and bringing them together?
Well, kind of like you stated earlier, messy. My whiteboard was it still is. I haven't even erased it yet. Yeah. It's still just a cluster, of all sorts of different directions and arrows. And, I want to do a consulting platform, but then at the same time I wanted to focus on mutualisms and write something. But then I had to think, okay, I need to actually find people to talk about this. And so I had a colleague who's actually in the program, with us as well. Her name's Naomi Kadena, and so she has a sustainable hair care line. She's a stylist, and I reached out to her and I said, hey, would you be one of my support committee's members on this VDL? And I want to talk to you about your business, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a business, it's sustainable, or this is what you're going for, these are your goals, but you being part of the program, I'm really curious to see how you've incorporated biomimicry into your personal business, as well as diving more deep into the LPs, even when you and Kimberly and I started discussing and going back and forth, and we kind of revolved around life's principles and how that's kind of a guiding line. So the methodology was really kind of getting in there and talking and consulting, and getting in the nitty gritty and actually going to it. And then, with Kimberly, I was very fortunate to meet up with her about, possibly talking with some of her students through her nonprofit, More Global, out on the East Coast. And so they had partnered with Boston University and had 5 design teams to go over the United Nations Sustainability Goals. And so they had a design challenge.
Yeah.
Right? They had a few different things. So from there, it was a very unique process of meeting with them and then consulting and talking about Earth's operating conditions, starting with that, because they had no idea what they were walking into. So it was consulting on that end, and starting from scratch with them on an academic platform. Okay. And then on the other end of the spectrum was consulting with Naomi. And a business client type relationship.
Very interesting.
So there was some excellent crossover to the approach that I had taken, and when we went through on both sides, we had to develop a more personal template for their LP life principle audits. And so it kind of really showed two different unique I don't want to say like sources of data, because for I want to kind of accumulate the report.
Sure.
But it really opened the door of like how just kind of taking the whole process and using life's principles, and rather than just an evaluation, but really getting into it and asking the why questions and using those as your starting question of trying to get to the principle rather than trying to get to the function or solve the challenge. It changes things.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it's like it's sort of your systems thinking and your entry points. So reflecting back on it, what's kind of your vision moving forward as you wrap up the VDL course? You have a couple semesters, a couple courses left in the program. Where do you want to take it? Where do you want to see it go?
Yeah, I talking with you and with Kimberly and a couple other people, we discussed sort of like a phase one. Like this video was really a phase one, right? Just to kind of get in and talk about the process, to kind of show what it could look like. And then after that, I would like to kind of broaden it out and focus on developing a, industry specific case studies and experience so that you could apply that to other people, whether it's shipping or whether it's product, a form or process system. And then also within that, kind of move it towards a more biocentric ethic that can be applied with the principles alone.
Right. Okay.
And then hopefully after that, who knows, maybe some kind of degree or certification that can come with it. Say, hey, that based on our evaluation, this is our stamp or our certification that we can offer. But that's of course years down the road.
Nature approved.
Hey, there's so much to go with it, so it's hard not to get too excited and overthink it.
Yeah. There's a lot to think about. Well, it's very cool to see some of the potential opportunities as strong as biomimicry and well thought out as it is. No practice is perfect, and it's nice to know we can give back a little bit. Hopefully, it's really exciting to see you get into exploring some of the stuff that I was also thinking about, and in terms of making sure that the ethical stuff is included, because that seems to be a very, as they put it, an essential element in biomimicry success. So. I'm excited to hear more. Maybe,
I think it's going to be fun. I really do. And I think that's where we missed the mark, is bringing that caring to it. So
yeah, definitely in traditional business. Well, I'm excited to see where you go.
Yeah, likewise.
I think we'll hopefully have maybe some stuff that you and I can do together.
Yes, we do have to talk about that.
But first, I think we need to go camping and hiking together.
No, I'm done with this.
And get outside.
Leaving, going outside, going to the lake. So, cool, man.
Excellent.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're kind of excited this is over.
Excited to get started.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Bye, everyone.